All right, 3 things my mom taught me about money. Okay, before we get into this, if you appreciate this content, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and also hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I upload a video. Now, it's been a little bit since I've put a video out. I've been under the weather. You may hear that a little bit in my throat. I still have a little bit of that. So hopefully you hear me clearly, and I'm able to get through this completely and clearly for you to get this message. But 3 things that my mom taught me about money. And you really want to hang on for number 3, because number 3 is one of those lessons that's just a reality about money. And it's something that I think everyone needs to kind of solidify and understand. So hang on for number 3. But let's get this started. The first thing that mom taught me about money is that pride comes before the fall. Now, this is kind of taken from it is taken from the Bible, from the scriptures, Proverbs, I believe it's chapter 16, but pride comes before the fall. And so having pride, having that chip on your shoulder, that sense of entitlement comes often before your own demise. As I think about this one, I think about when I was in high school, where this lesson from my mom became so clear. When I was in high school, we were going through a rather difficult financial time. My mom actually was a reading teacher at the time, reading specialist. My mom went through her life, actually got her master's degree and teaches, and she did remedial reading in the district that she worked in. But we were going through difficult financial times. And so my mom decided to get another job, an evening job after her teaching job. And the job that she chose to go get was at a gas station working in the kiosk. Now, I'm going to reveal to you what I thought about that. And being my 50-plus-year-old self, mid-50s, looking back on I think I was 17 years old at the time, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you about this. But it's a good lesson. So my mom was going to apply and get this job at working at a gas station kiosk. You've been to those gas stations where there's that little like glass kiosk where you're able to see the person and they turn on the pumps for you and all of that sort of thing. And when I heard that my mom was going to get this job, there was a feeling that just came up in me like, oh no, you don't want to do that. I mean, you're a respected teacher in the district, and what came over me, like I said, I'm embarrassed about it, but what I was thinking is what are the kids at school going to think when they go to the gas station and see my mom in the kiosk working there? You know, that's going to be really embarrassing. You know, these kids, we actually grew up on the more wealthy side in St. Louis, and so there were a lot of wealthy kids that went to the school that I went to. So I was thinking, oh no, they're going to see my mom in there and I'm going to be the laughing stock, you know. But my mom, credit to her, thank you, Mom. She went and she got that job. And she got the job at the gas station working in the kiosk. And like I said, I kind of had the dread, but my mom was strong-willed and she knew what needed to be done at that time, and we needed extra income in the household. I was actually working at Wendy's hamburgers back then, and I even told my mom, you know, my sister and I, we could work a little harder. I think my sister was working at Domino's at the time, and maybe we could bring in a little bit extra, but she insisted, and she got that job at the gas station kiosk. And I remember picking her up sometimes. And my mom could have had a different attitude about that job. She could have been like, oh, this is an entry-level job. You know, I'm not going to put too much into it. I'm just going to show up and collect a check because I need one. No, I saw the pep in her step. I saw the way that she treated customers. she had the same smile, the same enthusiasm, the same service for the people coming up to that gas station as she had for her students in the classroom. I watched that. I watched the smile on the customers' faces as they would leave, as I was waiting in the car to pick my mom up. I also dreaded being at school and the other students coming to me and telling me, I saw your mom at the gas station. And it took a while. Nobody came up to me at school, but it finally did happen where a student came up, a fellow student in a high school, and came to talk to me, and they said, I saw your mom there in the gas station kiosk. I was getting my gas filled up, and I'm thinking in my mind, you know, I try not to show it on my face, but I was thinking, oh no, here it comes. And what came was not what I expected. The student actually was like, yeah, I went to the gas station kiosk, I met your mom, and your mom's a really neat lady, very, very nice, and that sort of thing. So it was a very, very positive sort of thing, because bottom line, my mom knew that it wasn't about pride. In fact, she got that job to serve me and my other siblings. It wasn't about her. It was about taking care of us. But also, she took that to the actual job. It was about taking care of the customers coming up to that job. It wasn't about having pride. It wasn't about saying, oh, I've paid my dues. I have my master's degree. This is an entry-level job. No, all work is good work and requires to bring your full self, the best you. And that was a great object lesson for me. Pride comes before the fall. It's a big money lesson. Because there's one thing about life. Life can come along and hit you. You can be at the top, and life hits you a punch, and it takes you steps back. But if you do not have pride, the chip on your shoulder, you can be knocked all the way back to the entry-level job. And you're going to have the attitude that has you progressing forward every single day. If you have to dig a ditch to earn a living because life punched you, then you're going to bring all of yourself to digging that ditch, and you're going to be the best ditch digger, rather. And then you're going to become more efficient and better at digging that ditch. And guess what? You're going to help others who are on the job to be better at digging those ditches. And the next thing you know, you're going to be helping to supervise other people and teach them how to dig ditches better. And you'll move up, and things will become better and better. Mom instilled that in me. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. So that's the first one. Pride comes before the fall. And we kind of already talked about number 2 here, and that's that you have to do your best. Just like I was saying, Mom did her best. She brought her best to that gas station kiosk job. You've got to bring your best. But I'll confess to you that how do I say this? I've kind of edited what my mom said. What my mom actually said is that if you're black, you have to be the best. Now I have to kind of explain here. My parents grew up in the 1940s where they were infants in the South. My mom in Mississippi. And during that time, you know, there was Jim Crow laws in the South. And my mom, as a child and growing up, picked cotton. And it was an environment all the way through young adulthood where you had those Jim Crow laws, where blacks could not go into a restaurant. They could not drink at the same fountain that white people drank at. If you got on a bus, you had to go to the back of the bus. There were all sorts of obstacles due to your ethnicity, due to you being a black person. So that was difficult. And my mom had to overcome those difficulties. So she had to, at least as she saw it in her mind, be the best. And so she pushed herself to be the best. Now, as she got older, her parents moved to Tennessee. She worked several jobs. I remember her saying that She cleaned the houses of wealthy white people. And again, she carried that ethic to do her best in every single situation. And so she pushed and she did her best. Ended up getting her undergraduate teaching degree, and then finally her master's degree. But it was because she did her best at a time when she had two strikes against her that made things more difficult, being black and being a woman. Let's look at being a woman. There was a time when women could not vote. Think about it. I read a statistic that for every 100 men, there's 102 women here in the United States. Look at our biggest job here in America in government, the President of the United States. Look past all the 200 years plus of history of the United States, and every single president has been male. So is it at least logical to conclude that there are some barriers, there are some obstacles to overcome for a woman to reach that position? Sure there are. So I guess my mom could say, if you're a woman, you've got to be the best. You've got to bring your best. And I bet sometime in the future, we will see a woman president. But I almost guarantee when we do, it's going to be an exceptional individual. Why? Because they have to perform at a level to even have entry into the position. Is that fair? Maybe not, but it's a reality that mom taught me. So you got to bring your best. You got to give your best. And my mom would often say, if you're black, you've got to be the best. Well, at times that was too much for me. So I actually did an edit to that. I actually changed that mantra just a little bit. And what I did was I said to myself that I had to bring my best, or that I had to do my best. And so that's what I did. I did my best. And, you know, just to kind of digress a little bit, my older brother was the oldest, and the oldest child is often given the unfiltered philosophies and everything of the parents. So my brother got this philosophy beat in hard. And my brother, he's kind of like my hero. My brother always gave his best. He always looked for the pinnacle of whatever he was participating in. Like I remember my mom put us in activities. And just to give a little bit of background, my mom moved us to the suburbs, my mom and dad. And so there in St. Louis in the suburbs, the area was predominantly a white area. And so we were one of the few blacks that lived in that area. And so mom put us in activities. So again, this mantra, you've got to be the best. And she would say, if you're black, you've got to be the best. My brother took this very, very seriously. So she put us in Taekwondo because my brother was interested in Taekwondo. And I don't know if you know anything about Taekwondo, but there's different belt levels. You start out as a white belt. I think it's, you go to green, orange or green, blue, and then brown belt is the second to the highest. And then you got the black belt, okay? Well, my brother, he didn't just go through, you know, the different levels. He got to the black belt level, the top level. Now I got to the brown belt. So my brother was a difficult act to follow. And then we were in Cub Scouts. Mom put us in that. And so my brother was in the Boy Scouts rather. And my brother was in the Boy Scouts, and you have all of these different levels that you achieve as a Boy Scout. And my brother, being the achiever that he is, didn't just go through all of the different levels. I don't remember all the levels, but the level from the top was Star Scout, and the highest level is Eagle Scout. Well, you guessed, my brother became an Eagle Scout. Guess what I became? A Star Scout. Okay, so my brother was always achieving, and I'll give you one more example of the high school that my brother went to. You know what the top academic is in high school, is the valedictorian. Well, you guessed it, my brother was the valedictorian. He had to be the best, and he knew that. And he had that good input from my mother that had him actually achieve that, so he was the valedictorian. Now, I made the dean's list in high school, but he was the valedictorian. But what I did internalize from all of that is that I got to do my best, because there was times when those around me, maybe they were a little bit faster. Maybe they were a little bit smarter or a little bit more adaptive at certain tasks. But I knew that if I just did my best and did a little bit better every day, that I would achieve success over time. And so you got to give it your best. That was lesson number 2 for Mom. And that takes us to lesson number 3, which is a highly important lesson. And that lesson is money talks. My mom used to say money talks. You can hear greenbacks talking all the way down the hall. She would say, you can hear those greenbacks talking all the way down the hall. And I heard this over and over again, but I came to understand what it means. This is just a true reality. What we have in this capitalistic society is a change, an exchange that happens of money or revenue for services rendered. If you don't believe that this is how it works, then go to your local fast food place and order a meal. And then just stand there staring at the cashier. At some point in time, that cashier is going to look at you and say, sir or ma'am, are you paying with cash, or are you going to use a card, or how are you going to pay for this meal? It's going to get real awkward real fast, because that is our medium of exchange. And you have to have these resources to actually be able to get anything in society. This is just the way that it works. Love it or hate it, that is the capitalistic system that we're in. I didn't create it, but you want to put yourself in a position to where you have more revenue, you have more resources in order to get more opportunity, okay? Now, the bottom line is that if you can accumulate resources, if you can be a good steward of your resources, then you can have more access and more opportunity. And so you want to do what you can to be smart about the resources that you take in. Whatever you do, however you work, that you take those resources that come in and use them wisely, so that in the future you have more access and more opportunity. I think about one example. My sisters both had a coach that my parents paid for their pitching. They pitch softball. If you've ever seen girls softball, they swing their arm around and then they throw and pitch it. And I remember there was this coach, his name was George, and he taught my sisters, as well as a variety of other young people who could pay for that service, actually coach them on pitching. And to make a long story short, that made my younger sister able to play on the high school team. And I remember them winning games and her being announced on the PA system of our high school in the county of St. Louis. And it was just a neat thing. But my sister never would have been in that position had she not had access to that training from George Jones, who actually taught her and many other youngsters how to pitch those balls precise and quickly. So again, if you will actually understand that money talks, that money is a resource. You know, it's not about the money, it's about the resource to give you access and opportunity, okay? That's what you want. And just to throw in another little caveat here, one of the biggest things I think that the resource of money can do for you is to buy you time. No matter who you talk to, even if they're a multi-billionaire, they want more time. That is the big thing. And in fact, money can actually buy you some more time. In fact, there's studies out there that folks with more resources, the top 1%, tend to live about anywhere from 10 to 15 years longer. Why? They have access to good health care. They have access to good counseling and that sort of thing about their health, their overall health, mental health, physical health, and financial health. So think about these three things, okay? Don't let pride keep you back from having opportunity and access. Work hard. Do your best every single time, no matter what it is that you're doing. Even if it's an entry-level job, perform it as if you're already at the top. And third, money talks. Learn about the resource. Utilize it well so that you have access and opportunity, freedom, and you're able to purchase your time back to do what you want, when you want, how you want, and you can serve the world in your unique way, because that's what we're put here to do, is to serve and help others. Again, if this content is helpful to you, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I upload a video. And I'd like to say in closing again, thank you so much, Mom, for those lessons. And I want you to think about your mom. What did she teach you? Internalize that so that you can be more successful with your financial journey. Thanks for listening.